As usual, we have in the studios Mr. Bayo Atoyebi, former Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Press Council, joining us for the newspaper review. Bayo?
Thank you, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay. We begin our review this morning with This Day. This Day has a very busy front page, and let's begin from the very top, which is above the nameplate of the paper on the front page. Concerns at WHO over Ebola in Port Harcourt. And there are three riders to that story. Rivers achieves 98% contact coverage. Death toll from disease exceeds 1,900. That covers the West African sub-region where you are having the latest outbreak. And rice shipments from Thailand affected. That's on the front page of This Day. Also on the front page of This Day, insurgency. Lawmakers to meet with Jonathan. Blame Babangida for weakened military. And the writer to that story says, get briefing. That's to say the lawmakers now get briefing from Bade on an emergency rule. Bade, of course, is the chief of defense staff. And also on the front page, that's the lead story, with double-decker headline, U.S. to launch border security program and troubled over apparent capture of Bama. U.S. to launch border security program, troubled over apparent capture. Apparent capture, of course, is in quotes of Bama. And bodies littering town, says Senator Zana. And another writer there says, federal government assures Shetima of increased deployment of troops and then equipment to Borno. Let's go to the inside pages of This Day, pages 8 and 9. We'll just take a couple of stories from pages 8 and 9 of This Day. Page 8 of This Day, more troubles for the Oyahilomens as UK Commission probes Christ Embassy. More troubles for the Oyahilomens as UK Commission probes Christ Embassy. And a political story there. Well, we'll skip that. Let's go to page 9. Ebola, that's the kicker. US government urges Nigeria to assist other endemic countries. And two riders, treatment research group to call for submission of claims, and Amechi sensitizes religious and traditional leaders on virus. Claire, let's take other papers from you.
Okay, let's turn to Daily News Watch. And Daily News Watch leads with the story, Boko Haram, your image at stake, U.S. tells Nigerian military. And it has a rider as apprehensive residents flee Maiduguri. It's on page 2. We're ready to confront insurgents, youths, on page 3, and 9 women deliver at Nema camp on page 3 as well. And just below that, a picture story of President Goodluck Jonathan standing there, Vice President Namadi Sambo, and members of the National Council on Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises after the inauguration at the Presidential Villa in Abuja yesterday. Other stories trending on the front page, just coming from above the masthead. Northern elders at daggers drawn over Jonathan. Details are on page 4. And of course, we have tension in Adamawa as 14 jostle for PDP governor ticket tomorrow. $600 million needed to tackle Ebola, says UN. And American urges Nigeria to assist Liberia, others. Some of the stories trending there. But I just quickly take a look at the inside stories, or stories trending inside page. On page 3, you find a story on weakened military under IBB worsens insurgency. And this is coming from Senator Mohammed Saleh, APC Kaduna Central, blaming the former military president General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida for the seemingly weakness of the military and the fight against Boko Haram insurgents from Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states. And on page 5, we are also looking at another story there, page 4 and 5. Just start off on page 4. Okay, page 4 is just details of the stories on the front page. But page 5, Boko Haram recruiting child soldiers. And this is coming from Group. Boko Haram recruiting child soldiers. And if the camera can tilt down a bit on that page, I'll end violence in Kaduna if just a portion there. Bothered by incessant sectarian violence in Kaduna State, a gubernatorial aspirant in the state on the platform of All Progressives Congress APC, Salihu Mohammed Lukman, yesterday said he has the remedy to end it all. All right, that's it. Maybe,
next paper for us to review, Claire, will be the New Telegraph. New Telegraph, we proceed with the second lead on the front page. Second lead is just below the nameplate of the paper. AMCON sells 12.5% stake in EcoBank for $200 million. AMCON says, AMCON, of course, is the asset management company of Nigeria, sells 12.5% stake in EcoBank for $200 million. And Qatari National Bank, now second largest shareholder in EcoBank. Of course, the lead story is U.S. wants Jonathan over Boko Haram. It still has to do with insurgency. Another business story, which is also on the front page, is just below the photo, the front page photograph there. Court freezes Dangote's accounts in 20 banks. Court freezes Dangote's accounts in 20 banks. Of course, the court is a federal high court that sat in Lagos. And the quick read from the front page of the New Telegraph, 3 copies there. UK probes Christ Embassy over 941 million naira payments. UK probes Christ Embassy over 941 million naira payments. The details can be found on page 6. Of course, page 6, if you go to page 6, it says that the UK agency has in fact suspended the Christ Embassy board. But still on the front page, the quick read, Ebola, that's the kicker. WHO considers 8 treatment methods and 2 vaccines. Details to be found on page 5. And also to be found on page 5, but promoted on the front page there, is Jonathan targets 17 million new jobs via SMEs. Claire, can I just take very quickly the Vanguard,
yes,
along
please,
with what I just read? Of course, the Vanguard lead story has to do with insurgency. And another story there is on Ebola. Vanguard. Capture of Borno towns by Boko Haram. That's the kicker on the front page of Vanguard. Reputation of Nigeria's military at stake, according to the U.S. And 3 riders there says failure to stop insurgency, not an option, and we need foreign assistance in areas of equipment. That's according to the Chief of Defense Staff. And security situation deteriorating, says Senator Saleh. There's a Vanguard special investigation which is reported in greater detail on page 10, but promoted on the front page. Ebola, nation's land borders remain porous. But we go to a continuing story on page 16 of Vanguard. It has to do with the deputy governor of Enugu State who was impeached. My redeployment intended to humiliate me. Of course, the story recounts that the deputy governor of Enugu State, Onyebuchi, who was impeached, was redeployed to the office of the secretary to the state government as a deputy director. But of course, he addressed the press yesterday and said clearly that, according to the report, that he had in fact resigned his appointment, that he rose to the position of a permanent secretary first before he became a commissioner, and that to contest the election in 2007 and again in 2011, he had resigned his appointment, and therefore there was no position to go back to. Just to quote part of that story, but they are aware that I contested election in 2007 and also in 2011. And if I was still a civil servant, either on leave of absence or in whatever capacity, it means that the ticket and the platform under which I contested with my boss, the governor, was faulty and invalid. Claire?
Okay, yes, let's quickly take a look at, before Mr. Tayobi, we get back to you. The Nation is leading with, of course, the story on Boko Haram. And Boko Haram holds Bama as military pounds town. And it has a rider, defense probes Cameroon's claim of 400 soldiers' desertion. Now, just coming down there, Lamido can't be president, says Clark. And a picture story there of President Goodluck Jonathan welcoming body of benchers, Chief Okoko, during the visit of the senior lawyers to the president. And then the pilot quickly now, Nats to meet Jonathan and the Hats 2 riders. Mass protest in Maiduguri, we are gaining control. That's coming from the military. And just to come down there, Ebola Rivers seizes corpses in hospital morgue. And there are stories trending at the foot of the paper. Adamawa Guba, 14 PDP aspirants OK delegates list. Court freezes Dangote Brothers account in 20 banks. And there's this one again, Suswang to Jemade, your time's up in Senate. And that story on UK probes Christ Embassy over funds transfer. Mr. Toibe.
Look at the Daily Trust.
Daily Trust.
Yes, the front page.
Trust. Daily Trust front page. Boko Haram crisis. U.S. Nigerian military's reputation at stake, and it has a rider. Time for pride denial has passed. And then there's a very, very, this picture story there of multitude of people with clubs and sticks. And we're told that they are ex-soldiers, hunters and vigilantes at the Shehu Oborno's palace in Maiduguri yesterday after a meeting on how to stop insurgency attacks in the state. And they are vowing to face Boko Haram in Borno. Satoibe.
Thank you. Well, for purposes of a national heightened emergency, the issue of the insurgency has become a front-burner story. You recall that there are reports that Bama has fallen to the insurgents, and earlier on they talked about Gabarun Gala, Dikwa, Banki, and other areas where they have had forays are Marte, Mafa, Dikwa, Damboa. And there are also Madagali in Adamawa and Banki in Yobe. Because of this, the Chief of Defense Staff, Air Chief Marshal Badi, was summoned to the National Assembly. And you recall that when he was appointed in January, he actually said that within 3 months, the insurgency will end. But yesterday, he clearly identified that the role Nigerian soldiers have been playing in peacekeeping has actually affected their disposition towards combating this. But be that as it may, presently, the Chief of Army Staff is in the forefront directing activities as well as Chief of Air Staff. However, because of the influx of people into Maiduguri, you will recall that Boko Haram had Maiduguri as its nucleus until the civilian JTF, the vigilante group, came up and put pressure on them before they left. And now the same people yesterday went to the palace of Shehu Oborno and sought his blessing that they want to go to Sambisa forest and release the girls and take on Boko Haram. Now, this points to the fact that the people originally knew the people who belonged to these groups. The moment they came out providing information about them, apprehending them, arresting them, became very easy. And therefore, if they give the soldiers the cooperation, a lot can be done. But I don't know how the civilian GTF, with their clubs and cutlasses and bow and arrows, are going to face insurgents that are having sophisticated weapons. But be as it may, the Shehu prayed for them, and he has called for 3 days prayer and fasting for both Christians and Muslims to put this insurgency at that time. That shows the desperate situation that we are in. Ebola. The head of the World Health Organization has raised an alarm that presently Ebola has claimed 1,900, as Kingsley read earlier on, and 3,500 people have been infected. And he says categorically that this current scourge is the largest ever, and it is the most severe ever. And apart from that, it is the most complex. And therefore, he has called on worldwide attention, and she has estimated that it will cost the World Health Organization about 600 million to combat Ebola. But at the same time, in Geneva, scientists have gathered involving researchers, ethicists, clinicists, researchers, and they also have among them what they call patient representative. And these are people from countries, doctors, researchers who are from countries where there are incidences of Ebola, so that they can benefit from their experience. And they are looking at 8 experimental methods, and as well as 2 vaccines. However, because of the rigorous nature which the World Health Organization has now approved for clinical tests, it is not expected that until the first month of next year, however, before these medicines and vaccines can be available. And that is why, in fact, they are appealing to Nigeria to help Liberia and the other countries, because without these drugs, Nigeria was able to manage and contain Ebola. In fact, the ZMapp that is being proclaimed, it is said that its efficacy is about 60%. 3 have been cured of it, and 2 have died of it. The other story of concern is the issue of the Chibok girls. As of today, this is day 144. And you will recall that there is a group that is an advocacy group that is agitating to keep the issue of the abducted girls on the public burner. However, on their visit yesterday, they were advised at the newspaper that they have to be very careful because apparently they appear to be anti-government, and government see them being anti-government, and they also see themselves negatively. And the essence of the altruistic intention to put the Boko Haram thing on the front burner is lost, and therefore there is need for caution. However, there is also a danger. The soldiers, particularly the Chief of Defense Staff, said that they know where they are. They are being cautious so as not to kill the girls. But a leader of the of the Chibok girls in Abuja has said that in the culture of the people of Chibok, if a person is missing for 4 months, they assume that that person is dead and they will commence a burial ceremony. Therefore, they can go into the place and rescue the girls, risking any that may be killed as collateral damage. However, you will recall that this, if you were to put this to the parents of Chibok, none of them certainly will want their children dead. You remember the scriptural wisdom of Solomon, where 2 ladies were disputing over a baby. And one said, and Solomon in his wisdom said, I'm going to divide the baby into 2 so that each of you can have one. The real mother said no. The other mother said yes. So if you ask the Boko Haram parents, the Chibok girls parents, I beg your pardon, you think they will want any forest into the place that will lead to the death of the girls?
Obviously, that's a very important question you have posed there, Bayo. Certainly because, as we have seen, with recent instances of hostages, particularly American journalists,
yes,
who have been beheaded by ISIS. That's the Islamic statist in Syria and Iraq. So hostage situations are very delicate. And that's the much we can take on our papers review this morning. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break, and when we return, we will have our first guest, and that will be our principal topic for conversation.
Good luck, Jonathan. You are good luck to Nigeria. Good luck, Jonathan. You are good luck to Nigeria. Everywhere you go, you are good luck to the people. Continue your good work. Nigerians support you.
Excuse me. What people are looking for in Sokoto, we are having Sokoto. Good luck are what every parent and wish is picking. In school, in business, in life. Everybody are look for good luck. Every country I look for good luck. In World Cup tournament, good luck. Or Louis I come back to life, good luck. The schools are now bracketed all over to betterment the future of Albageris. Good luck. Or universities are properly funded. Good luck. My damn brothers of the north, are you see what I'm saying? Agriculture are now walk over. And 33 modern dams are ready for farmers. Good luck. Fertilizers are purchased for almost free of charge. FOC. I am talking of power supply. That power reform are make steady supply of light every daily. Let us thank Chineke God for our good luck.
Good luck continue for Nigeria.
This message is brought to you courtesy Transformation Ambassadors of Nigeria. Done for one vision, Nigeria.
Nigeria, we the people decree that the power of evil secrecy shall fail.
All Nigerians should understand that a divided Nigeria can only mean catastrophic consequences for the entire black race.
We all African countries count on you, and you're our beacon of hope.
That when Nigeria sneezes, all of us will catch cold.
All of us who look to Nigeria for lessons and inspiration never cease to thank God for this wonderful gift to Africa.
Nigeria enjoys the respect, the admiration, the friendship, and the hope of an entire continent.
The powerhouse of Africa.
Nigeria.
Unite and build Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria.
A message from protectors of Nigerian posterity.
My little angel loves to play in the mornings. All because he sleeps so well. New Pampers has more super gel and less bulk to lock in wetness better. keeping your baby dry all night long. So when he wakes up, he enjoys playtime all over again. New Pampers, more super gel and less bulk. Pampers.
Now, going by the 2006 census figures, Benue State in the North Central Geopolitical Zone in Nigeria has a population of over 4 million people. It is ranked the 7th largest state in the country. Now, the state is known for many attributes, especially its agrarian resources and very rich cultural heritage. And there can be no Benue without the very strategic tributary river to the Niger. I'm talking about the River Benue, and of course, which intersects at the confluence town of Lokoja in Kogi State. Now, Anjibuno leads us into this state that's often referred to as the food basket of Nigeria.
There are 23 local government areas in Benue State, which is predominantly made up of Idoma and Tiv-speaking people. With Makurdi as its state capital, Benue State is a rich agricultural region named after River Benue. The state was formed from the former Benue Plateau State on the 3rd of February 1976. Later in 1991, parts of the state along with areas in Kwara State were carved out to form Kogi State. The state also has abundant mineral resources, with limestone and kaolinite being commercially exploited. Benue State is known for its colorful fabrics and dances like the Swange, which has won acclaim at national and international cultural festivals. Gabriel Towa Suswam, PhD, is the 15th governor of the state and is in the final year of his second tenure. He has embarked on various projects to reposition Benue State. The Suswam administration is also developing strategies to enable the state live up to its identity as the food basket of Nigeria.
All right, we're glad to have joined us in the studio this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. Former representatives, of course, a member of the Federal House of Representatives. He is the driver of the transformation in Benue State. We're talking about the executive governor of Benue, His Excellency Gabriel Towa Suswam. Your Excellency, thank you for joining us. Let's quickly begin with in parts of the world, but especially within the West African sub-region and Nigeria, particularly, the level and quality of development has always been hinged on the quality of leadership. What's your perception about our kind of leadership since this democratic dispensation?
Well, good morning and thank you very much. I totally agree with that. Leadership gives direction in any organization. And if we have bad leadership, you're bound to have problems within the organization. You start even at the nucleus level. If you have a bad father in the house, of course, you have problems in the family. You have problems in the family. And so in our country, since independence, we've had issues. And, the military came in. We thought, or people rather thought that they were going to salvage the problem. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be. From one transition to the other, up to 1999, when we started the present dispensation. And I would say that our experiment with democracy, we've done quite a lot. But because the rot was so much, people have become very impatient with the efforts of leadership in the country in attending to the problems. And that impatience is what has led to some of the security situations that we now have. But I would say that we've tried. Yes, we've had our own fair share of bad leadership in the past, but democracy is a system of government that is determined by the people, and that is why you see people voting other people out. So we're doing very well on my own assessment. Giving the magnitudes of the problems that have bedeviled this country for a long period of time.
Let's quickly understand what you think quality leadership should consist in.
Quality leadership should be that leadership that is responsive, especially at the political level, is responsive to the fears, hopes, and aspirations of the people. Once you are responsive, you listen to what the people are yearning for, and you try to represent that. To me, that's represent quality leadership. But a situation where, a leader becomes so egocentric and, he's beyond any advice, that creates a problem. And most time, at the level that we are, there are those tendencies. You just feel that you know everything, and so you don't listen to anybody, and it breeds bad leadership. So a good leader should be the one that is responsive. If you are responsive, you listen, and your actions will be based on what you are listening to and what the people want you to do.
Well, Your Excellency, I will return presently to the issues of leadership, which of course is the principal focus of our meeting with you this morning. But the state of which you're governor represents certain paradoxes, which are really very intriguing. Yeah. First is this: Benue is reputed to be the nation's food basket, and yet the poverty level is pretty high. Secondly, River Benue is one of Nigeria's two major rivers. Yeah. Potable water is scarce in most parts of Benue. And then on a personal level, last year when the Academic Staff Union of Universities went on strike, you were one of the leading figures on the side of government, in this case the federal government, that negotiated with ASU. And then, of course, eventually ASU called off the strike. And yet, in your state, you have had teachers who have been on strike for several months, and workers have also been on strike for a long period. These are three paradoxes. We will take them accordingly as we proceed. But the first one I would like you to respond to, Your Excellency: how come we have the paradox of Benue as a food basket and yet a very high index of poverty?
I don't think when you are talking about poverty in a society, it's not just about production of food. You know that there are other economic indices that determine whether a country or a society is poor or not. Yes, we're producing food, but do we have the infrastructural support to create wealth? Of course, no. It's not peculiar to Benue anywhere. It's a national problem, and I believe that we've made giant steps in trying to address some of the issues that you've mentioned. Agriculture in Benue, yes, has been at the subsistence level. We're the food basket of the nation. The reason being that the soil in Benue is very fertile. Everything or anything you drop on the ground grows. And the people are 98% farmers. So when you put the aggregate activities in agriculture in Benue, it qualifies us as the food basket of the nation. That wouldn't necessarily reduce the poverty level because over a long period of time, agriculture in itself needs some infrastructural support. And that is what I have done since I became governor in 2007. Because you have a situation where people who are in the villages have no access. And so you are producing a lot of food in a village where you can't move it. There's no commercial activities. And so such a person, in spite of the fact that he's producing a lot of yam, for instance, in a village, he's unable to move them from point A to point B, where he can have returns on them and sort out other social problems. And so year in, year out, he's discouraged. The situation is different when you go to Benue now, because what I've concentrated on in the last almost 8 years has been construction of rural roads. And now it is easier for people to move their produce from one end to the other where they can have returns on them. And there's a great improvement in the well-being of the people. because we've taken electricity to a lot of villages. We've constructed roads, like I've said. And so we are gradually reducing the poverty level in Benue. And we partner with CBN, where we distributed ₦1 billion to farmers at the micro level, where, has enhanced even the GDP in Benue as far as agriculture is concerned. And so we are doing quite well in that regard. But because I would say it's a structural problem, not just in Benue. And so it's going to take a long period of time for us to address it. Just yesterday, the Federal Executive Council under President Jonathan approved a master plan for infrastructure in this country. This is something that would have been done years back. And so once you don't have infrastructural support in all sectors of the economy, you are going to have the same problem. What the president have now done clearly indicates the direction that we should take down the road. And so I believe that Benue and other parts of this country will move towards and enhance economic activities that reduces poverty in the country.
Okay, Your Excellency, the quality of leadership, again, we're staying on that, is a reflection of, the development in a particular state. And like Kingsley said, infrastructure development is not, it's not at top speed in Benue, certainly not. We're talking about poverty, level. It's one of the states with the highest poverty rate. Statistics have it. We're also looking at the aggrieved or disenchanted workers, teachers. It's ongoing in Benue. And I don't know, recently your deputy was quoted to have said that there is need for equity, justice, and fair play, even across all board, which means, of course, that's the way we translate it. There's absence of all these, in the leadership structure in Benue. How do you respond?
No, I don't think so. The situation of workers in Benue, there has been a tremendous improvement. If you get your statistics, in the 19 northern states, the workers in Benue received the highest salary. Benue State, in some area, received more than even the federal workers. What did happen was that when I came in 2007, there was high level of despondency in the civil service. I will give you an example. For instance, the permanent secretary in Benue was collecting 45,000 when I assumed office. The first salary increase I made moved them to 75,000. When we negotiated minimum wage to me is not salary increase. But there was a negotiation that was done in Benue. A permanent secretary in Benue now collects 476,000 naira. There is no state in the north that the permanent secretary collects that kind of money. Some are still below 100,000. So you can't say that Benue State, the workers in Benue, as far as I know, even in some of the southern states where they take derivation, we pay more than most of the state. If we look at our payment chart, will be about the 6th in the country. So the workers in Benue have a good day. The problem that has happened, and I address the issue of the teachers, when we increased the first salary, which was immediately I assumed office in 2007, the teachers nationally went on strike for 27.5%, what they call 27.5%. Benue State was one of the first states that implemented that. You know that states like Ekiti up to now they are not paying 27.5%, and nobody is complaining there. And Benue State, when you look at allocation, look at our allocation vis-a-vis other states. Why you have a state like Rivers, for instance, that collect maybe about 30 billion a month, that collect like 2.5. And I'm paying the highest salary in the entire of the northern state. So you must get what we collect and then juxtapose that with what we pay our workers. What we have done, I don't think any state in the north have done that. So the teachers were collecting 27.5% in addition to the salary increase that we made. And so when we negotiated minimum wage, we didn't include them because minimum wage was to take us to the national threshold. And what is the national threshold? 18,000. The least teacher in Benue was collecting 25,000, which was way above the national threshold. And so we're not asked to increase salary, we're asked to move people to the national threshold. And I felt that if you people are already above the national threshold, you are not included. But within the core civil service, you have people who were on level 1 to 6, who were collecting about 9,500. We now move them. When we move them, the workers say, look, you can't move somebody below to be collecting more than somebody on a higher level. When they were negotiating that, election was closed, and so I didn't know what happened. So the proportion of increase was totally outrageous. You imagine somebody on 75,000 now moved to 476,000. It has never happened. There's no salary increase that accommodates such outrageous increase in salaries. So now, I didn't bother because we're collecting excess crude, we're collecting argumentation from the federal allocation. All of that have stopped. And so, if we take your newspapers, anytime there's an allocation for Benue, the highest that we'll get will be like 3.5 billion.
Okay. You seem to be talking about allocations, federal
Yes.
allocations.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, what is happening to your IGR, for instance?
IGR, has component. Benue State, like you say, is basically an agricultural state. You can't raise IGR beyond what the people can pay. Because there are no commercial activities. If you go to Lagos, for instance, there are a lot of commercial activities. The biggest companies are in Lagos. And so it is possible for Lagos to attend very high level of IGR. The biggest business that we have in Benue is Dangote Cement. That is the only thing that we have there. Otherwise, there are people who market grocery, there are grocery stores, people who have somebody who is have a grocery store that if you put everything together in a place, it's maybe like 20,000. How much can you tax such a person? So as much as we made effort to increase IGR, you can't tax the people beyond what they have. And so IGR in Benue, comes to nothing. And so you don't have IGR that will complement or supplement whatever that come from Federation accounts. So basically about 90% or even more than that would depend on Federation account. And it's not, like I said, it's not peculiar to Benue. Virtually all the states in Nigeria, maybe apart from Lagos and Kano, where you have some commercial activities, most of the state, the IGR is almost zero.
Well, going forward, there should be prospects with regard now to agricultural production in Benue State.
Yeah.
And of course, you are very familiar with the agricultural transformation agenda of the federal government, the linchpin of which is value chain, namely the transformation of agriculture into a business. How is Benue State keyed into this value chain doctrine, as it were, in agricultural production?
Well, like I said, we've done quite a lot. We, as I talk to you, we're trying to complete a tomato or a juice factory that actually was started with by my predecessor. That's because Benue State produced a lot of tomato, and we needed to add value to that. We have an orange juice factory that has been leased to that are producing
concentrates?
Yeah, they are producing concentrate.
Yes.
Transcrop have leased that out. I'm presently constructing a yam flour factory in Benue. We hope to commission that before I exit. But then there are issues. You see, we must put this in context because it is not just enough to build factories. The issue of electricity is a big problem because no person is ready to just go and say that I'm building a factory when you know that you can't break even because of the source of energy. It's a major problem. That is why you have these all the factories, factories in Kaduna that we used to know, all of them are dead because of the issue of electricity. So we have the same problem. And up and until we're able to address the issue of electricity, building factories comes to nothing. Because even the one we've leased, we've leased, for instance, the fertilizer blending plant in Benue. The man has packed up. He paid quite a lot of money to lease it, but he's not producing because he said he can't break even. There's no electricity, it's operating on diesel. So virtually all the factories that we have are operating on diesel. For instance, Taraku Mills, we've leased it to a company. That company is not producing now because they say it's too expensive for them to continue to operate on diesel. So the problem that we have in Benue mirrors what happened nationally. And we need to address some of this problem vis-a-vis what we need to do at the level of infrastructure. We can't run away from that. And I'm happy with what happened yesterday at the Federal Executive Council, because once we address the issue of infrastructure in this country, especially in the area of transportation and electricity, most of this problem will be solved. If we have even 10,000 megawatts of electricity in this country, poverty will go down drastically in this country. And so it is not enough for you to talk about value chain. It is the value chain in itself, because you need electricity to add value to the produce, agricultural produce, or anything at all. And so once we address the electricity problem, we are going to improve drastically, or rather reduce poverty in this country. So Benue State cannot be operating in isolation from the problems that we have. And I'm happy that President Goodluck have tried to address the issue of electricity. And I believe that by the time we finish 2015 election, we'll be able to attend some level of electricity that will enhance development in our country. And so all the states we key into that.
Your approach towards the value chain business seemed to have been for government taking the lead. But did you try to persuade private investors in this regard? Because the general feeling is that government is not good at the business.
You know that the private sector in this country depends almost 100% on government. The money of the private sector here is government money. And so in a state like Benue, like I said, basically agriculture. And like I said, the only factory that is operational is Dangote Cement. Dangote Cement, because of the magnitude of his business, he's been able to operate. He's also using, I think, diesel or low fuel. Yeah, he's generating his own power to be able to run that factory. Now, you want to go into a PPP arrangement with a private investor. First, the issue of infrastructure is a problem. And so the man is going in to make money. And if he goes into an environment where he believes that he can't make money, nobody is going to come. Because when I became governor initially, I invited a lot of foreign investors to come. When they come, first, the issue was that of roads. And so I decided I was going to construct road. There's massive construction of road across the length and breadth of Benue. And so now that issue, to some large extent, was sorted out. They now said the issue of electricity. When you bring somebody, say, it's okay, how am I going to attend this? How am I going to achieve this? So it's a big issue. We need to address infrastructural problem. And that is what the Federal Executive Council did yesterday. Once that is done, every other thing becomes secondary. Once we address the issue of infrastructure in this country, I think that development will just pick up.
Okay, you talked about, of course, you said not just Benue, more states are depending and feeding and surviving, from allocations from the federal government.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, but I do know that Benue, again, is said to be reputed for quite a number of, agricultural produce, not just talking about the quality of species of oranges. I know you have the orchards, you have also other mangoes. And this report tells me that your state accounts for over 70% of Nigeria's soya beans production. Now, won't this be a sufficient ground for, the argument for true federalism? States take control of your resources, manage your resources and grow your resources.
Because the founding fathers of this country, for everything there needs to be a foundation. True federalism, yes, but then over a long period of time, the military intervened. And so the mentality of an average Nigerian, especially those of us who were born in the middle 60s, will grow up knowing a unitary system of government, control power from the hierarchy. And all the constitution of this country have been modeled along the unitary system, in spite of the fact that we talk about federalism. if we look at the content and the provisions of the Constitution in most areas, for instance, the issue of federation account. In a true federal system, should we have federation account control from the national level? No. And so, up until we are able to get out of this, we still need a lot of maturity, because a lot of things come into play, like people are talking about state police, which of course I don't support. I'm opposed to it for a lot of reasons. Like you say, control of resources. If we now start control of resources by the state, yes, gradually we get there. But then over a long period of time since independence, all of us have put our resources together. And the argument has been that whatever that is being mined from the South-South, the Granite Pyramid gave rise to that. And so let us share together, as we've done before in the past, what we have. As we practice democracy down the road, it took America hundreds of years for them to attain where they are. If you look at the history, or take the history of Europe, you'll be amazed at what they went through before they attained the level of civilization that they are now experiencing. And so we're just starting, basically. But we're impatient. People are very impatient. We're just starting. We'll make our own mistake, but we'll get there. I am a supporter of true federalism, but where we are today might not be feasible because of a lot of reasons. And so we will gradually get there once we begin to develop infrastructure in this country. For instance, the inauguration that the president did today on the micro, medium, and small-scale enterprises, those are some of the activities or programs that will be able to push us to true federalism. Because once people become independent, once people are able to start their own businesses and not depend on government, 98% of Nigerians depends on government. Forget about people calling themselves private sector or business. Every money is government money. There's no single business enterprise in this country that is out of government. And so once we are able to begin to establish our own businesses, we can begin to talk about true federalism. But for now, that looks to me like a mirage for now. But with the programs put in place by the present administration, we'll get there.
Well, Your Excellency, the soil in Benue State is fertile because it is well watered. First by the River Benue Basin, and then adequate rainfall. It's one of the paradoxes I referred to earlier. Why is potable water so scarce in your state?
Potable water is not scarce in Benue, but when you talk about potable water, you are talking about drinkable water.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of stream. Are they drinkable? Not necessarily, because, people going to the stream, you know the implication or the consequence of that. What we have done since I became governor is to address the issue of potable water. For instance, Makedi. The water treatment plant in Makedi was built in 1973. It was built for 15,000 capacity. Makedi was a small place, and so was built just for the people who were there. Since 1973, until I became governor, I built a 100,000 cubic meters of a treatment plant to supply water to the metropolis of Makedi and the marginals of that town. I also built another water treatment plant in Otukpo. Otukpo is also one of the biggest towns in Benue. I built another one in Katsina, a treatment plant. All of these were commissioned by President Jonathan at a go. I built all of them at a go. Now, talked about boreholes, whether they are motorized or hand pumps. There are thousands and thousands of boreholes across the length and breadth of Benue. So potable water is not so much of a problem. But most of these boreholes, especially in Zone C, the Senate President area, you can hardly achieve water by digging any borehole because of the nature of the soil. And so what actually the federal government have done, and I have done, are build small dams, and they are building, one of the biggest dams for the first time in Benue. I think about 17 billion worth of it in Benue. That is to address the issue of drinkable water in that part of the state. And so we've done quite a lot in addressing the issue of drinkable water, you know, but that also costs money.
And the people getting
very well, but the challenge is, yes, you have these projects, reticulation, the last mile. How have you achieved that?
Reticulation, I built the water treatment plant, for instance, the one in Makedi, for about 5.9 billion. To reticulate the water will cost me about 18 billion. And so I've written several letters. The president promised, when he commissioned the treatment plant, promised that they were going to help me. I'm still hoping that they will start. What we intended to do, I'm now in the capital market, to raise some money to start the first phase. You know, whoever comes subsequently will carry it on, but we need to start the first phase. 18 billion for a state like Benue is too much money for me to contend with. And so I had to run to the federal government. There's a delay, and so I've gone to the capital market. Once I'm able to raise the money in the capital market, even the first phase is going to cost me about 3.8 billion. And so, you know, you need a lot of money to attend to infrastructure. But in the area of infrastructure, if we take your statistics where Benue is on top, because we've done quite a lot of infrastructure in Benue, quite a lot of it, especially in transportation and water.
Very well, Your Excellency. We will pause for now, and when we return, this is Good Morning Nigeria. We're having with us here the Governor of Benue State, His Excellency Mr. Gabriel Suswam. We are discussing leadership and, of course, the challenges and accomplishments in his state. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll get back to him.
Excuse me. What people are looking for in Sokoto, we are having Sokoto. Good luck are what every parent and wishes pikin. In school, in business, in life. Everybody are look for good luck. Every country are look for good luck. In World Cup tournament, good luck. Or Louis are come back to life, good luck. The schools are now breaking all over to betterment the future of Albageris. Good luck. Our universities are properly funded. Good luck. My damn brothers of the north, are you see what I'm saying? Agriculture are now walk over. And 33 modern dams are ready for farmers. Good luck. Fertilizers are purchased for almost free of charge. FOC. I am talking of power supply. That power reform and make steady supply of light every daily. Let us thank Chineke God. Power good luck.
Good luck continue for Nigeria.
This message is brought to you courtesy Transformation Ambassadors of Nigeria. Down for one vision, Nigeria.
Put a cup of jig in the water, we'll get school uniforms whiter, and it is the tough stain fighter that will get your whites much brighter. Just Jiggins! Pot puree and lemon. Just Jiggins! Hey, you better go get it! Now available in lemon and pot puree fragrances, the newest and freshest way to jig it.
Running on the network service of the NTA from the stable of the NTA Educational Television. This quarter, a wide variety of educational programs. Fun Bus, Tuesdays 5:30 p.m. It is fun-filled and educative for children ages 5 to 11. Walk It Out, Saturdays 9 a.m. Walk It Out is a mathematics quiz program for students of junior secondary schools. Take a Step, Tuesdays 6 p.m. with a repeat broadcast on Sunday 10 a.m. Take a Step is a general purpose quiz program for students in senior secondary schools. Young Inventors, join the Young Inventors every Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Young Inventors encourages and celebrates creativity, ingenuity, and originality among children and young adults. It's a bouquet of active participation, learning, and being educated in an interesting way.
Okay, we have right with us in the studio His Excellency the Governor of Benue State, Mr. Gabriel Suswam. Of course, he's a lawyer at University of Lagos. This is the first law faculty in Nigeria. Governor Suswam.
Yes, that's a great university. But let me just.
Mr. Suswam, Claire will pose the next question and then we'll continue our conversation.
And it's on a rather lighter note. You were considered as one of the youngest governors. And with due respect to Your Excellency, you were referred to as a small boy, in quotes, to have ruled Benue. And when you came in, we understand it was an issue. So I'm going to ask you, what has age got to do with good governance and quality leadership?
That is the question. I've always asked that question. I'm going to be 50 this year. I'm still referred to as a small boy. And you know that the current Prime Minister of Britain became Prime Minister, I think, at 42, 43. And it's not an issue. Across the globe, most countries are moving towards, because this position requires a lot of energy. And from my experience, because most time I sleep like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. attending to people, and the next day in the morning I need to wake up. As you age, when I came in at the age of 42, the vibrancy is different from now because age is setting in. At the age of 50, I think, getting to 50, I think I'm aging. And so why it was easier for me to wake up at 6 a.m. when I became governor initially, it is now gradually becoming more difficult. So, you see, that is why we have problem in this country. Because you have certain people who believe that leadership should be by age. But what I've said is this: if we are looking for elders in the villages, yes, we can put them there. But we're not looking for elders. Age has got nothing to do with the wisdom of King Solomon. He was a very young man, but he's rated to be one of the greatest kings in the Bible. And so age should not be an issue. Age should not be an issue at all. It is only here that people talked about age and feel that, well, your age should disqualify you from attending certain position. But if we go to Benue and if we want to assess us, I'm not going to assess myself. But we have Governor Aparaku, we have Governor Adasu, we have Senator George Akume, who I took over from, and myself. And if we go and assess it, I'm the youngest of the governors to rule Benue. Maybe, I don't know, in future, you might have a younger person coming in. But I have done more than any of these governors have mentioned, and I beat my chest to say that.
Claire, just before you pop the next question, if it's a follow-up to this.
It's just to draw his attention.
Yeah, but he was 42 when he became governor. At that age, he was actually 10 years older than General Yakubu Gowon when Gowon became head of state. The very year
he was a military governor. He was a military head of state, yes. But we're talking about a civilian.
Yeah, but he prosecuted the Civil War very well, with a lot of maturity. If Gowon didn't handle the Civil War with the maturity which he did, this country would have been completely divided.
I took you up on that question because of a report on the front page of the Pilot, and it quotes you saying to Jamadi, that's Senator Jamadi, your time is up in the Senate. And on the inside page, if I can just quickly go to the page 6 to read out a portion of your Jamadi's response to you, he said, he just says that experience and age, should be respected.
Yeah, when you talk about experience, age, simplicity does not bring experience. I've been to the National Assembly. I spent 8 years. And while I was the National Assembly, I headed some of the toughest committee. I basically set up the House of Reps because I was chairman of the House Services. I was the one who allocated offices, houses, cars, and even the materials for the House to function. I became the chairman of the appropriation. That is the toughest committee in the National Assembly. I also chaired the committee on FCT. I chaired the committee on power. And so when you talk about experience, I don't know what experience, if you put me in terms of experience as far as National Assembly or governance issues are concerned, I would say that I'm better placed than Senator Gumade because I spent 8 years in the National Assembly. By the grace of God, I'm spending 8 years as governor. This is the first time that he's elected. And so, as far as election is concerned, I have a better... matches are drastically reduced. You can't eliminate them completely, but you know, like you said, for a long period of time, Benue, that used to be a flashpoint, has calmed down because I've been very proactive as far as security issues are concerned.
Very well. Yes, we'd like to thank His Excellency Governor Tuswam of Benue State.
In camp, preparing for the African Cup of Nations qualifier against Congo DR tomorrow in Calabar. Some other Nigerian players are still proving worthy of call-up to the national team. One of them is Obafemi Martins, who's well.
All right, welcome. Let's talk sport now. We'll begin with Nigerian player in the Major League Soccer MLS, Obafemi Martins, who is continuing with
the future. There are different interests all contending for attention. But if you ask me, it does appear we have externalized this crisis to the extent that our sovereignty is no longer being respected as a nation, whereby FIFA appears to be dabbling into issues that are supposed to be an internal affairs of Nigeria. But the truth remains that if you indicate to join family, you must as well forfeit some rights. Be that as it may, other nations have gone through issues like this. But the will of the nation prevailed. I remember vividly during the after the South African 2010 World Cup, there was crisis in France national football team. And what the president of the federation did then was to humbly resign when FIFA actually called France to order. They simply told FIFA that, look, this is our internal affairs and we need to resolve it internally. Looking at the handwriting on the board, on the drawing board, and knowing fully well the implication of what was going to happen, the president of that federation took the honorable part, resigned, and brought that crisis to a halt. But we don't appear to be doing this. What we are doing is that people are digging in and trying as much as possible to embarrass this nation the more. I don't think it's good enough.
I think we should find a way of avoiding embarrassment. Now, the matter on ground is that FIFA has extended the, of course, suspension period for us. It's giving us a deadline, within which a new election is to be conducted. Now, this story is telling us, of course, the Megiri. It's saying that election will hold in 2015. We also understand that the House of Representatives Committee on Sports has asked the Giwa-led committee, to start parading itself as president. So what is going to happen? Because the FA is still divided.
Well, I think, like I said, it's all boils down to personal interest. People are in personal interest. There are weak institutions. There's no two ways about that. We have considered so much to arbitrariness in the past. There are rules, there are regulations, there are tenures, and tenures, the moment your tenure expires, the best thing is to throw in the towel. As far as we are concerned, the tenure of Alhaji Megiri expired as far back as 25th or 26th of the month of August. And the ideal thing would have been to conduct an election. Having conducted an election and a group emerged, you allow them to go on. The problem we have here is that people have vested interest in FIFA, and they use those vested interests to dictate what they want. I don't think that the series of letters we've been receiving of late tends to actually come from Zurich, because you read the content of some of those letters, what we have Nigerianized English, which we know precisely the way and manner we use our terms here, you see. And majority of them are far out of what FIFA could do. FIFA is not supposed to directly interfere in the day-to-day administration of football in a country like ours. Yes, if you write to FIFA informing them that the election is slated for this day, you must abide by it. Failing to abide by it, obviously, you must give a cogent reason. You see, we have notified FIFA that we wanted to hold an election. That was on the 26th of August. And FIFA endorsed, only for us to begin the crisis that were inherent in the board of that actually lead to things like impeachment. Impeachment are allowed.
What are you insinuating exactly? That the letters from FIFA are contentious?
Yes, majority of them are contentious. Take, for instance, it will be absurd for FIFA to write to Nigeria, directing Nigeria to suspend issue of employing a national coach, pending when election issues are resolved. It is abnormal. Otherwise, if this is allowed to hold, FIFA could as well go ahead to tell us who the cleaners in the football house should be. For goodness sake, there are certain issues that are completely outside the domain of FIFA. But here we are allowed, they tell us when to organize an election, when a quorum is formed, when election is genuine, when election is just, look, they are just becoming too petty.
But there's no response from FIFA saying otherwise.
The point is, everybody appears to be silent because of the fact that we have not taken the initiative to actually go to FIFA to authenticate some of these letters. For goodness sake, somebody somewhere in the football sports ministry or the football house should be able to authenticate some of these letters. We are all aware that majority of the people in the outgone board have relationship with Nigeria's desk of FIFA and FIFA, who obviously is their personal friend that runs or mans the affairs of Nigeria, that obviously signs all manners of letters. Most of these letters are ridiculous.
Yeah, Mr. Mbulu, let's come back to this. I mean, one of the copies that popped up yesterday, one of the copies that emerged yesterday was the fact that the Aminu Megari executive, and in particular Aminu Megari himself, whose tenure expired on 25th of August, should be allowed to continue until elections are conducted. I haven't read the rules to see how a tenure can be elongated, but the obvious threat there to suspend Nigeria from FIFA organized, CAF and WAFU organized competitions appears to be at all times, you know, the big stick with which we are threatened. Let me ask this question, and it's something that some other persons have also pondered. What is the big deal about FIFA sanctioning Nigeria and then we're coming back home to sort ourselves out?
Well, I believe that this is the opinion quite a lot of Nigerians are canvassing now. There's need for us to put our house in order. There is too much vested interest that are already trying to undermine the sovereignty of this nation. Honestly. Elections were called, and a Congress was called, not an election. A Congress was called on the 26th of this month, last month, and they all agreed to meet. During the course of that Congress, accreditations were held. People, out of their own selfish consideration, decided to stage a walkout. By so doing, you have forfeited your right to vote. And people who stayed back decided what to do. Rules of the day were suspended to say, look, yes, this was not supposed to be an elected Congress, but to deliberate on the roadmap way forward. But because of the fact that, look, people were not there, majority of people who were in attendance decided to change the rules, suspended the rules of the day, and had their way, which is normal. And people are telling us that, look, that election cannot hold. This is a Congress that was presided over by the representative of federal government of Nigeria, talking about the sports minister, who declared that Congress open. For goodness sake, I believe that steps must be taken to really call quite a lot of people to order. We have quite a lot of people who are behaving, let me not use the term, like touts, who are obviously not adhering to the rules of the game.
Obviously.
Nigeria is a nation, and representatives of the nation must be in a better position to conduct themselves as credible individuals who have been tried and tested. Not a situation whereby we behave like a gang of schoolboys. It is unacceptable.
Okay, Austin, obviously there is a lacuna somewhere, and I remember, Kingsley, when we hosted the House of Reps Committee on Sports, as well as the Honorable Minister for Sports. Two things they talked about that would help to check all the fractions in the NFF in the short, medium term, medium terms. One, the passage and accent to the bill on sports administration, which will eventually pave way for the establishment of a court of industrial arbitration for sports. Are these your thoughts as well?
Well, first and foremost, the problem we have in Football House today is simply centered around the fact that people have failed to respect institutions. As we speak, there is no law governing the activities of Nigerian Football Federation. This bill has been in the National Assembly for over 5 years now, and nothing has been done so far. People do things at their whims and caprices, which is not the norms. The only known law we have is Decree 101, amended version, which obviously recognizes the fact that we have Nigerian Football Association. There's nothing like Football Federation. And that particular law confers legitimacy to the Secretary General of the Football House as the Chief Executive. But what we have now is that people have been able to invent their own law, whereby the President of the Federation becomes the Chief Executive and reports to the office every day, which was not the case before now. It used to be a part-time chairman, part-time board members, and the administrative staffs are the ones that run the show, ably led by the Secretary General. There is no law mandating the chairman to kind of change his status to become the chief executive. All these have paved way for the crisis we've had. Like I said the other time, there is no linkage or synergy between the sports ministry, who is the federation. People, for goodness sake, Nigerian Football Federation is not on its own. It is funded by the federal government. And by virtue of that, as we speak, IPs pays the salary of actually all the staff you have in the Football House, apart from those that are politically appointed.
Now, the suspension of the, is it the league management company? Is a fallout of this crisis? What's the situation?
It is a fallout of this crisis. To start with, the league management body have done relatively well if you look at what they have done since inception. But the point remains that they have deviated into taking part or siding groups in the crisis. So obviously what happened was inevitable. But the point remains if I were in the shoes of the Honorable Minister, the best bet would have been to assemble all the credible people we know that are familiar with FIFA terrain so that these issues can be resolved. The way they are going now, I wouldn't be surprised if some smart Alex happens to pull the strings and get this sanction on Nigeria. But then we have gotten to a stage whereby we have to suspend one or two things and put our house in order. Okay. Our house needs to be put in order.
Very well. Mr. Austin Umbolu, former head media of the Nigeria Football Federation, here discussing with us the crisis in Soccer House and the suggestions on the way forward. Mr. Umbolu, thank you for being with us. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We go on now to the foreign scene where Ukraine, Iraq, Syria and Afghanistan are the issues reverberated at the NATO talks in Wales. Namdi Odipo has the details of this and other stories.
Hello and welcome. NATO member states are still sitting in Wales for their crucial meeting after the event officially opened yesterday. British Prime Minister David Cameron and NATO Secretary General welcomed the